Hey, Stoney here with another game of Mechabellum. And if you're wondering how a fortified hacker can be used with carry fangs, then this is the game for you. Let's go. At the bottom here, I am playing as a aerial specialist, and I'm against Sparty, playing as a elite specialist. Right off the bat, I have sledgehammers and arc lights. And the goal here is to go one-sided asymmetrically, because I know that my sledgehammers they're not able to take on the tarantulas just head on in the round one. So if I spread them out evenly, there's a pretty high chance that I'll lose the first round. I am pretty strong in terms of chap clear, however, I am weak in terms of DPS. So I wanted to focus on my damage on one side, and hoping to take that one side very quickly, allowing me to get tower, and of course, get to the other side. Sparty is starting with 2 tarantulas and 3 squads of fangs, and of course, being elite specialist, he has access to these level 2 blue crawlers, and these are very tanky units. They take 2 shots for arc light to kill, 2 shots for sledgehammers to kill, so it makes sense for me to just go on one side. And it looks like we're starting off in the opposite sides, and it really just comes down to target priority. If my units are able to get to at least some of these blue crawlers before they get my tower, I should be in a decent position, but it looks like his blue crawlers are just getting a little too fast to the tower, and therefore I am not able to get to the first round. Round 2 reinforcement. 45 hacker is offered. Extended range war factory is also interesting. We both took 45 hackers. I thought the 45 hacker might be interesting because my opponent already runs tarantulas, and 45 hackers can straight up tank the tarantula while capturing it, so it is a very useful unit. With Sparty, I don't know what the plan is just yet. Now, for round 2, being aerial specialist, I just want to make sure that I stop these blue crawlers from getting to the tower. Therefore, I am able to regain some of the tempo. Once I clear out the chaff, the rest of my units should be able to get through his chaff and, of course, win me the round. Sparty continues to add more blue crawlers and, of course, 2 squads of level 2 fangs, selling one of these tarantulas. So very curious. Whenever you see a position like this, you have to be prepared for something in front of these fangs. Carry fangs aren't that common these days, but it can work, and I've seen it work at the highest level. And the key here is to get fangs, get range, so they're in a position to get a lot of experience while providing almost a chaff clear role in the sport. But you have to fully expect some type of tanky units at the front. Now, because Sparty already took 45 hackers, that is one thing that I am going to expect him to put down. In a typical round, when you see carry fangs, you typically expect fortresses, sometimes rhinos, but in this case, I think 45 hackers very likely. And to play against the 45 hackers, I think marksmen do decent, because the 45 hackers will always be in front of these fangs and they will always be targeted first. So as long as you have some type of anti-unit unit, like these level 2 marksmen, it should be very doable. Sparty also took the level 2 marksman as well. And here it goes, the range fangs, and this confirms the theory of carry fangs. Now, instead of 45 hackers on round 3, Sparty went for assault mode marksman. Now, they also kind of serve as a tank. Assault mode marksman boast almost 20,000 HP, so 19,464. And just look how tanky they are, right? Alright, once I get through these huge tanky units, I should be able to get through his rest of his army, but unfortunately, he just got a few too many fans for me to deal with, and I think this round is still going to go to Sparty. It is a little scary with carry fangs as they start to level, because in the beginning, when they're just level 1 or even level 2, all they're really good for is just chap clear. Once you start putting down units like fortresses or even level 2 sledgehammers, these fangs aren't going to DPS them enough. But once they hit level 3 and once they get mech rage, then they're a real menace to deal with. At that point, you have to really position your units to get beyond whatever's in front of these fangs. one good strategy would be Stormcrawlers with fire. Fans don't have a lot of great range, so they're forced to walk forward, and usually they just stand in the fire left behind by whatever large units that were initially tanking those volleys. Another way to stop these carry fans is, well, you get Wraith, right? Wraith has the amazing ability to target multiple units at the same time. So as the Wraith moves forward, the fans might be in the Wraith's range, and it might be able to lock onto those fans while locking onto the larger units at the front. So that's what I decided to go. I feel like Stormcrawlers might be too slow at this point. My opponent's units are currently on the line, which means this is a very short travel distance before it can get to my Stormcrawlers, and they're just not tanky enough to deal with whatever is to come, right? And with the 4-5 hacker being a looming threat, the more units I put on the ground, the worse is probably going to be, because the hacker will just take on everything. So I think the more flexible decision here is just to go a little further with the Wraith. I took the range here. Range is a good technology when you're playing against assault marksman. With range, your Wraith actually outranges the marksman, allowing it to deal the damage before it gets targeted too early by the marksman. So as you can see here on the left, this Wraith is doing quite a few volleys in against these blue crawlers, almost killing this entire squad, but unfortunately, Sparty's units are just a little too strong, and they're continuing to bombard my tower. Another reinforcement cards. M-Core is excellent if you want to put them on the Wraith, or even for Sparty, putting them onto the hacker. I was really hoping the item to go on like this level 3 fence. It just makes them such a powerful unit. When they're hitting level 3 with an item, they can now effectively clear medium-sized units like sledgehammers, and they can contest level 1 wraiths. However, Sparty decided to put it on the level 2 hacker. I chose the very expensive EM Blast, because I knew there's going to be a lot of range on his fans, and I knew he was running Assault Marksman. I wasn't expecting the shield that's going on to the hackers, so that was a bit of a misplay, but you really can't expect that, right? Usually when you see hacker, the first technology is usually range, but in this case, Sparty wasn't really going for range hackers, and instead he's going for tanky hackers. I took EM on the sledgehammers. EM should be able to disable the marksman fairly nicely if it gets a shot in. And it looks like my EM Blast did get his level 3 marksman, so he's not doing nearly as much, but it's still doing plenty to my unit. I am winning on the right hand side because of the extra Wraith, allowing me to push for tower, but on the left hand side though, it is just falling very quickly. And this is a bit of a dire situation, because as these units, like especially these fans, get level, and this one gets another level, what, level 2 going to level 3. I think both of these level 2 fans are getting level 3s. I can no longer defend with just sledgehammers. They simply die too fast, and it's also bad because I just took the technology on the sledgehammers hoping to catch this marksman, and now that's just going to waste. Round 6, Stormcrawlers are offered, and it is very tempting. I think I'm going to take it. Level 3 Stormcrawlers, in the earlier round I mentioned like it is a little too slow, right, because it's all the way on the line. But right now I needed something to break the shield. These hackers right in front, if I don't break the shield, then they have an opportunity to really just get close to my sledgehammers and producing even more chaff for these fans. And couldn't allow that. I need to break the shield, allowing my high-level Wraith to just get through the hackers and power them down. And once the hackers are gone, I think it's easier for my Wraith to get to the rest of the fence. But I'm still not 100% sure. I immediately took range overload on these Stormcrawlers, allowing them to fire 50% faster at the reduced range. Now, range really isn't that much of a factor to me right now. Right now, the fans, they are still being outranged by the Stormcrawler, and they are walking so fast, so I don't really need to have that range advantage because everything is going to arrive at my footstep in just a few moments. On Sparty's side, I see more units being added, more fans are being added, and he also had this level 2 Overlord from the unit drop. The level 2 Overlord is a little bit scary. I think his primary purpose is just to contest my level 2 Wraith, but at this point, I'm not too worried. What I'm hoping to do, if my Wraith are doing well, is eventually hit this button, which is the floating artillery array, and I call them the A-guns. It doubles, just a flat out doubling the damage output of a Wraith. And because of the unique mechanic of the Wraith not focusing on a single unit, having more guns also allows the Wraith to target even more chaff units. The Stormcrawlers are working beautifully, able to bring down those 2 shields from the hackers, allowing my Wraith to just go up there and contest it. And once the Wraith is gone, right, as you can see, the fans simply just fall. So what Sparty really needs now is to add even more units in front of these fans in order to provide that support while the fans continues to level, and this one's going to level 4. And at this point, these fans have 2 techs. They have the range and the mech rage, making them a very efficient killing machine. Aerial spec is picked by the marksman, and that spells disaster against my Wraith. So earlier I mentioned how range counteracts assault marksman. But now with the aerial spec, it adds an extra 30 range. So right now my Wraith is doing 105, but the assault marksman with the base range of 80 plus 30 now officially outranges my Wraith. And the air spec also prioritizes air units, so these Wraiths are just going to get targeted very early on. And without the Wraith, I don't really have a viable way to counter these mass fans. I mean, the sledgehammers aren't the best way to do it. The arc lights currently, they're not range, which means they're actually getting picked off by the fans before it can even fire. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult this round. Sparty also added 2 more hackers on the other side. And the reason for that is quite obvious, right? On Sparty's board, he needs a lot of units in front of the fans so they can eventually do the damage and get levels. And the hackers, not only they themselves are fortified, and they're providing so much tanking, right? One level 2 hacker is like, what? 39,000 HP? That's almost, I think that's more than a melting point. My left side is falling very quickly, and my right side, after the level 3 marksman with air spec targeted my Wraith, was not able to hold as well. So I'm kind of getting to this bad spiral where my opponent just continues to level up. I've got another unit drop, and I was offered 3 squads of Mustangs, and I took them immediately. I noticed that there were a few fans that were out in the front as the initial chaff, and if I can get through those without wasting too many shots, I can get through the hackers a little faster. And if I can get through the hackers a little faster, then the rest of the board should be relatively easy to clear. But that's the plan anyways. And also, these level 2 Mustangs also serve the purpose of creating a screen against the hackers. Hackers are terrible against Mustangs because not only they have so many units per squad, they also fire very quickly. So as soon as one of them is hacked, it gets brought down very quickly. And compared to things like sledgehammers, you got 5 of them. If a hacker hacks 1, it usually takes the rest of the squad at least 2 shots to kill that traitorous comrade. So the Mustangs are actually serving a dual purpose of clearing out the initial fans, but also providing a bit of a screen against these hackers. Alright, A-gun is picked by my Wraith, and they should double up their damage. Right now, I do have 1 level 3 Wraith, and that is doing just a tremendous amount of damage to my opponent's board. But the left side, though, if you're looking at the board, and just to see how overwhelming this is, right? All the units just coming down. We have this really high-level fans with mech rage, and it's seemingly unstoppable at this point. Now, if it were you at this point, what would you do? Would you put fire on the Stormcrawlers? Would you do something else? I mean, let me know in the comments. Ooh, this is going to be a huge round for my opponent, and that is going to bring me down to just under 1,000 HP, which means if Sparty wants, he can simply press the long button, and it just put down a bunch of missiles, get rid of my initial chaff, and move all the things forward. It's a very dangerous round this round. Sparty took portable shield, and I also took portable shield. I realize is that in order for me to really win this game, I need to keep my wraith alive. If I can keep them alive, I should have a good time in the later rounds. And now you might think, Stoney, he's got level 3 marksman with air spec. How do you ever expect to win against something like that? Well, air spec marksmen, yes, they are very scary, but I do have a way to have maybe Wasp in the later rounds that can provide a bit of a defense against that. Keep in mind, right, A-guns, they are so strong with range, and they can do so much damage to the front lines. So even if Sparty is able to get maybe one shot off my wraith, they may not be able to kill it in time before I kill his marksman. So I'm banking on the fact that Sparty is just going to go really hard on this hacker fang composition and not really putting down even more air spec marksman. I picked up another technology, very expensive, being the third tech, and that is field maintenance. The reason I took field maintenance, one, is to negate damage from these fangs, and two, is of course to hopefully out-tank some of these air spec marksmen. So there's an interesting dynamic between the wraith and the marksman, is that if your wraith is one level ahead of the marksman, even if they have air spec and if you have field maintenance, you're usually able to win that fight. And at that point, the marksman is no longer an effective counter to the wraith, and your opponent is forced to bring down a melting point. Now, melting point is not a very high tempo unit, and when you're playing aggro, it's usually not the best units to push with your army, right? They're very slow. So this might be a good move, and I'm just hoping that my wraith is going to outlevel his marksman, and right now they aren't. Now, this round isn't going too bad for me. I did get rid of all of the AA marksmen here, but I do have a very unfortunate tower debuff, and now I'm up against a level 3 overlord, which essentially one-shots my level 2 wraiths. And that is going to bring my health down just to 552. So something needs to change. Improved melting point card is added, and you know what? This is not a terrible choice for the front line because of the extra 20 range. With improved melting point, and if you take the range on the melting point, that unit can essentially reach the tower all the way from like over here. So it doesn't need to move, it just stand where it is and it can shoot wraith all day long. Alright, it looks like Sparty is just going to triple tag his fangs, and now with Ignite directly to counter my field maintenance. He's going to add even more battleships down. I'm going to slow this round down a little bit, and I want you to watch really for the interesting dynamic on when certain unit dies and when target priority is shifted. Right, so here's how it's going to play out. Right, Mustangs are going to kill these frontal fangs very quickly, allowing my wraith to move forward and locking on to these hackers. The fangs, though, they may lock onto the wraith, but I'm hoping by the time that my wraiths engage with range, my crawlers would have walked in front of it, providing the much needed shield against not just these fangs, but also this overlord. I'm going to put down Wasp here for the purpose of defending against these marksmen as well. The Wasp, even though these are, level 3 assault marksmen with a bit of splash, I think the Wasp still take these marksmen at least 3, if not 4 shots to kill. And that's the amount of shots they would have otherwise spent on my wraith. So I think it's an investment that's well worth it. Alright, so I'm going to slow this down just a little bit, and we're going to see how things work. So first of all, you notice level 2 Mustang immediately got through that initial fence, and now my wraith are focusing on the hackers. Wraith with level 3 with a gun, they're incredibly powerful, doing a lot of damage to the hackers. But right now though, only 2 wraiths were being targeted by these fangs. The big wraith right here hasn't even taken a single amount of damage because of my crawlers getting in front of them. On the other side, the hackers are trying to get through my units. I didn't notice that Sparty actually took multi-control here, but my wraith are now being healed back. This one may not survive that one more shot, we'll see. Nope, it didn't survive. However, level 4 Wraith here is going to survive, and it is going to get that Overlord. On the left hand side, things are looking up a little bit, with the Wraith staying just a little bit longer. And now my level 4 Wraith is coming over and challenge this level 4 Overlord. Level 4 Wraith and level 4 Overlord deal almost the same amount of damage, right? So a Wraith, let me just do some math here, does 8 shots, so at 1900, let's just say it's about 2000, and that's 16,000 damage every 1.6 seconds. Whereas an Overlord does, what is it, 4 rockets at 4.6 seconds. Okay, so the Wraith doesn't quite do enough damage against the Overlord, but with the Overlord and with some chap on the ground, I think the Wraith could still bring that Overlord down very quickly. Photon is being picked by Overlord, anticipating a degen tech pickup by my Wraith. I think that's a very good choice. I'm surprised he didn't put even another Overlord on the other side. With Photon, that's going to ensure that his high-level hackers survive just a little bit longer. And if they can survive a bit longer, that means the fans can do a bit more damage. So here's a curious situation. When I was playing this game, I really wasn't sure what am I supposed to do, right? The rule that I follow here is I'm looking at my opponent's board and see, is he really hard countering my carry units, which in this case is my Wraith. If he added more Assault Marksman with Air Spec, then I probably would have gone something a little different. Now, because he only had 3, I just thought, if you're not hard countering it, which means I'm still getting value from this high-level Wraith, I'm just going to put down even more Wraith. And at the same time, I want to prevent your high-level Marksman to shoot my Wraith directly, so I'm going to stagger 3 more squads of Wasp right here, right? So I'm going to speed this up on the deployment, but I am going to slow down just a little bit. And what you'll see is that the moment that the initial round of chaff is cleared and the Marksman is ready to fire on one of my Wraith, the Wasp goes forward and gets target priority, right? So look at this squad of Wasp right here. It's moving forward, it's moving forward. Right, it's moving forward. Nope, the Marksman gets stuck on the fangs, gets stuck on the crawlers, right? On this side, right, this Marksman is shooting at these Wasps, and this one is also shooting at the Wasp. And the difference it makes is huge, because if it were shooting at my Wraith, at least this level 2 Wraith would have gone down, right? So, see, they're still hitting it, but it just didn't produce enough damage, allowing my 8-gun Wraith to move forward, and once the meat shield in front of my opponent dissipates, everything starts to fall apart. So it's a very clutch game, and it really just comes down to a split-second timing of the Wasp attracting the damage from the Assault Marksman before getting completely decimated by these high-level fangs. It's very difficult to see things like that in a real game, right? Sometimes you just play a whole lot of game and you just kind of go by feeling. But at the highest level, the key to winning a complex situation is to force your opponent's unit to shoot at the wrong things. So in this case, I've forced Sparty's high-level AA Marksman to not shoot my Wraith, instead of shooting at my Crawlers, to shoot at my Wasps, and allowing my Wraith, which is more of a generalist unit, right? They're great at chaff clear, but once you're level and once you give them a gun, they can pretty much kill everything else to go against his army. I hope you liked the video. I don't believe you've seen this one. So if you got some time, I'll see you on the next one.
Prepare your tactics. Mechabellum's calling. Deploy your fortress. The battlefield's alive with swarms.